There are hundreds of ways men try to boost their testosterone after 50. There's TRT, there's testosterone pills, testosterone patches, testosterone creams, testosterone gummies, which I'm sure taste like a midlife crisis, testosterone injections, which sound terrifying, testosterone pellets, which sound even more terrifying. And my personal favorite, the testosterone detox tea someone's aunt is selling on Facebook that will reset your hormones, and also probably your will to live. All of these things promise to bring back the man you were at 25. Minus the bad haircut and worse opinions. But the reality is, most of these solutions are either unnecessary, overpriced, or both. Like a $400 blender. You know who you are. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Your testosterone didn't start declining at 50, it started declining at 30, about 1% per year, quietly, in the background, like a slow gas leak. You just didn't notice because at 35 you were still working 60-hour weeks on willpower and spite. By 50 though, the math has added up. That's roughly 20% less testosterone than your peak. Not because you're broken, because you're human. And also possibly because of some other things we're going to talk about that are entirely fixable. The real villain here isn't your age. It's your cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone, and it has a direct biological war with testosterone. When cortisol goes up, testosterone goes down. It's a seesaw. And for most men over 50, with career pressure, financial pressure, aging parents, adult children who still need things, and a back that somehow hurts from sleeping, cortisol is basically living in the penthouse, while testosterone is stuck in the basement with your old gym equipment. Stressed out is not just a mood, it is, quite literally, chemically anti-masculine, which I know sounds dramatic, but the data is very much not joking. Now, let's talk about the identity problem. Because this is the actual root issue that nobody in the supplement aisle is going to address. Most men over 50 have quietly accepted a story about themselves. The story goes, I'm getting older. This is just how it is. I'm supposed to feel tired. I'm supposed to have less drive. My body is just winding down. And then they go buy a testosterone gummy, which I'm not here to judge. I'm here to tell you that the gummy is not going to fix the story. In his book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the difference between outcome-based change and identity-based change. One says, I want to have more energy. The other says, I am someone who protects his vitality. Sounds like the same thing. Completely different trajectory. The first guy buys a supplement. The second guy restructures his sleep, cuts the things that are quietly destroying his hormones, and starts moving his body in ways that actually work. And the second guy, by the way, doesn't need the gummy. Okay, common mistakes. This is my favorite part because these mistakes are extremely logical, extremely understandable, and also extremely backwards. Mistake number 1, thinking more cardio is the answer. A lot of men over 50 decide they're going to get back in shape, and they start running every day, long distances, very committed, very painful, very counterproductive. Excessive endurance cardio, we're talking long daily runs, has been shown in multiple studies to actually suppress testosterone production. Your body, under that level of sustained stress, reads the situation as survival mode and starts rationing. Testosterone is expensive to produce. Your body deprioritizes it when it thinks you're running from something. Walk more, sprint occasionally, lift things, stop running from your problems. That's what therapy is for. Mistake number 2, going on a low-fat diet. Testosterone is synthesized from cholesterol. Cholesterol comes from dietary fat. If you've been eating low-fat everything because you heard it was heart healthy, I'm not here to fully unpack that conversation, but I will say your body needs fat to make testosterone, not a ton. But if you've been aggressively fat-phobic with your diet for years, that's a very quiet, very underappreciated reason your T might be low. Eggs, olive oil, avocado. These are not the enemy. They are, in a very literal biochemical sense, ingredients. Mistake number 3, buying testosterone supplements. I'm going to be gentle but direct. The evidence base for over-the-counter testosterone boosters is, to use a scientific term, terrible. Tribulus, fenugreek, DHEA, the various root extracts with names that sound like characters from a fantasy novel. The studies on most of these are either sponsored by the companies selling them, too small to mean anything, or show effects so modest they wouldn't be noticeable in real life. Zinc and magnesium are actually the exceptions. Many men over 50 are genuinely deficient in both, and fixing that deficiency does help. But that's $12 at any pharmacy, not a $79 stack with a skull on the label. Here's the one that's genuinely going to make you pause. Belly fat isn't just a symptom of low testosterone, it's also a cause of it. The fat tissue around your abdomen contains an enzyme called aromatase. Aromatase converts testosterone directly into estrogen, so the more belly fat you carry, the more of your existing testosterone gets converted before it can do anything useful. It's a self-reinforcing loop. Low testosterone leads to more fat storage. More fat storage leads to lower testosterone. This is not hopeless. It's actually just a very clear argument for addressing both at once. But it does mean that the belly is not a passenger on this journey. It's actively driving. And here's something even most doctors don't bring up. If you're on a statin for cholesterol, which a large number of men over 50 are, there is a documented relationship between statin use and lower testosterone levels. Statins reduce cholesterol. Testosterone is made from cholesterol. The math is uncomfortable. This is not a reason to stop your medication without talking to your doctor. It is a reason to have that specific conversation with your doctor, because a lot of them haven't had it with you. Okay, so here's what actually works, and I'm going to give it to you in order of impact, not in order of how much it costs, because the most impactful stuff is also almost entirely free. Sleep is number one, full stop, not a close second, not a nice bonus. Number one, a University of Chicago study had young healthy men sleep 5 hours a night for 1 week. 1 week. Their testosterone dropped 10 to 15%. 1 week of bad sleep did what years of aging does. If you're sleeping 6 hours or less, consistently, no supplement, no workout, no diet change is going to meaningfully offset that. You need to sleep 7 to 9 hours. This is medicine. This is the cheapest testosterone intervention that exists. And most men treat it like a sacrifice instead of a strategy. Stress management is number two, because of the cortisol-testosterone seesaw we talked about, and this is where men over 50 specifically have a unique challenge, not because they're weaker, but because their cortisol has had more years to become a default setting. Chronic low-grade stress doesn't feel like stress anymore. It just feels like Tuesday. The fix isn't necessarily meditation, although that works for some people. It can be a walk, a consistent wind-down routine, saying no to one more thing you didn't want to do anyway. The biological goal is simple. Give your cortisol somewhere to go that isn't stay elevated forever. Resistance training is number three, not because you need to become a bodybuilder, but because compound movements, squats, deadlifts, rows, presses, create an acute hormonal response that signals your body to produce more testosterone. 3 sessions a week, 45 minutes, focused on the big movements. That's the protocol. Not complicated, just consistent. And the consistency part is where identity comes back. If you think of it as something you do temporarily to fix a problem, you'll stop. If you think of it as something you do because you're someone who moves his body, you won't. Vitamin D and zinc are the two supplements that actually have real evidence. Most men over 50, especially those living in places without year-round sunlight, are deficient in vitamin D. Vitamin D is not just a vitamin. It's a hormone precursor that directly influences testosterone production. Get your levels tested. Supplement if you're low. Zinc, as mentioned, is similarly deficient in a lot of men and similarly important in the testosterone production pathway.
One final thing, and this one is the most underrated, most under-discussed, and genuinely surprising. Loneliness suppresses testosterone. Social isolation has a measurable hormonal effect. Men who are more socially connected, not in a shallow way, but genuinely connected, have measurably higher testosterone. The research on this is still emerging, but the signal is consistent. Testosterone evolved partly as a social hormone. It responds to connection, to competition, to contribution, to feeling like you matter in a community. This is probably not what you expected to read in a video about testosterone, but here we are, living in a world where the most ancient biological signals are still running your biochemistry, whether you acknowledge them or not. So no, it's not just the gym. It's not just the diet. It's not the expensive gummy. It's sleep, stress, movement, real food with actual fat in it, vitamin D from the sun or a bottle, and people, real ones, who actually know you. You don't need to reverse your age. You need to stop doing the things that are accelerating it and start doing the things that aren't. Because here's what nobody is selling you on the supplement shelf. Testosterone is not something you take. It is something your body produces when you give it the conditions to do so. The conditions aren't complicated. They're just inconvenient. Less screen, more sleep, less chronic stress, more actual recovery, less belly, more muscle, less isolation, more presence. Do this consistently, and you won't just feel like yourself again. You'll feel like a version of yourself that 35-year-old you would have looked at and said, "Finally, he figured it out." They say after 50 you're done. You're just done. That the hormones have packed up and fled with the sun. But the data says different. The science is clear. It's not about age. It's the life you've been living right here. Less sleep and more cortisol. Fat in the wrong place. No fat in your food and no sun on your face. Fix the basics. Sleep more. Move with intent. Lift something heavy. Go outside. Touch some cement. Eat an egg without guilt. Call a friend. Feel the sun. Testosterone isn't lost, brother. You're just not done.